I'm going to start talking about feelings. That's where I am.
You want to start talking about feelings? You can talk about feelings.
I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm in them.
I'm all up in my feels about it too.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't tell.
What? Seriously?
Yeah.
I was also crying.
Were you? Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know. A
lot.
Don't yell at me. I'm going to start crying again.
As you can tell, we are feeling our feelings, and they are many and varied.
I couldn't have predicted.
No. Same.
I could not have predicted this. And it's the part of what makes the show as good as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the sudden and uncertain nature of it makes it so good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go as far as to say I take back what I said about wishing it was a very deliberate ending, but a little bit I am going to take that back, because ultimately this is what this show is, and this is what how this fantasy show represents life.
Yeah.
And life is fleeting and ever changing, and it's the kind of thing that you're often not prepared for the end.
Yeah.
And also, the end doesn't always mean the end. And that's where I'm the most torn up. And it is very personal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure for many people right now, we're in a weird place.
Yeah.
This was a doozy. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, more than season 4. Season 4 was very focused. My pain, my anguish was very focused in one
right.
place.
And it also had like a very specific target, whereas it is just sad because it's all sad, and it's sad because certain things are so hopeful, and it's sad because we know we're not getting any more. So it's sad because it's happy, and it's sad because it's up in the air, and it's so many things. This
is Oceans Rise and Cities Fall. Life goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
In a nutshell, that was from Deep Impact. So, which is timely for us.
Timely for us because that 2-year-old episode is coming out.
Or it came out.
It already came out. Yeah.
We started with Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So Santa came. That was just
totally charming.
This is everything in the kitchen sink. Like, this throws everything at the screen in a way that a lot of other shows, I would be like, holy moly, like, enough already. And it would feel so contrived. Like, it would feel, well, and I have criticized, I've accused the season of being a little bit contrived. Well, more convoluted than contrived.
Yeah.
But on any other show or on a lesser show, I would find this Christmas thing so tacky.
Yeah.
And there's something about, because this is a spring show, and I don't know the actual timeline of the show, but it's like, that's not anything that ever dawned on us, was getting to see these characters celebrate Christmas.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, it's obviously not Christmas, but also because of the magic nature of everything, this is just, I mean, that was lifted legit straight up out of Narnia. Like, Santa Claus is in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and he gives them all presents before they have to go on their quest. That's where Peter gets his sword, and Susan gets her bow, and Lucy gets her little dagger and her healing potion. It's like a hallmark of the genre. Not Santa specifically, but like, yes, getting your
The Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
exactly. You have to get your gear before you can go do your thing. So I really enjoyed it as well, because not only is it necessary, and everyone got a thing that ended up helping them along the way, but it also just was like a nice chill moment for all of our characters to be in the same room together, and like nothing was exploding for a minute. It was great.
Yeah, which is rare. And from there, we go straight into both saving Fillory and Julia's pregnancy.
Yeah.
And there was a point where I was like, are we legit gonna off Julia?
I thought we were gonna off a couple people at different times. I was worried for Julia. I was worried for Margot.
I was with you, and it's one of the things that if there was another season, this was one of my hypothetical, like, where it could end, is I would be interested in another season where gradually everybody dies.
Interesting.
And then they sort of meet in the end. You know what I mean? Like, where you kind of...
There's a movie that you like that does that.
Well, no, I mean, the TV show Lost, but
no. There was a movie where they were all dying, but they weren't really dying. They were like waking up in
Soul
purgatory.
Survivors. It's different. It's different than what I just described. But,
okay, that's fine. It pinged my brain.
There was just something about it where it's like, sometimes the hype of a final episode doesn't come home to roost for me. Like, it's like,
for sure.
And this just, I felt like I was squeezing a lemon trying to get every ounce of juice out of it. And
well, it felt like they were doing that too. Like, it felt like Sarah and John were like, well, we're gonna do it because we're not sure we're coming back. And
there's a handful of things that we did. Well, there's frankly a lot of things we didn't get closure from. And from where I am right now, an hour later after because I needed a break, probably like 40 minutes, but from where I am now, I like that. I don't feel like I need that closure. Like, I don't need to see what Marina and her girlfriend ended up doing. Like, I don't need to see. And frankly, specifically given where the show ends and the exact moment it ends, I feel like I'm going to compare this to, weirdly, and you'll probably be right there with me, it was kind of like the end of Fleabag.
Yes. Yeah.
Where the
I am
story
right there with you.
Is very deliberately still going. We just can't watch it anymore.
Yeah. 100%.
I like that more than I ever thought I would, because it sort of made me be like, I was like blessed to have what I already did. Like, it's already given me so much more than I ever expected from it. I can't expect it to continue that. I mean, we make jokes about like Britney Spears where we're like, there's only so much of her, and once we kill her, that's it. You know, it's like,
for sure.
It's like when something is magic and meant to bring you joy, it can only give you so much joy before it's exhausted.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's also something to be said where like this never would have, even if they had been able to do it more deliberately, this would have never wrapped up perfectly like something, you know, like Friends, where everything is addressed and everyone is paired off and everyone is happy. It would have never.
I mean, look at the debacle that was the final season of Game of Thrones. It's like
100%.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want it for this show, because it's like, I mean, the final season of Game of Thrones has tainted that show's legacy.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to go back and rewatch that now because I don't want to get to the end again.
Yeah, and it's like the handful of seasons in there are brilliant. It's television, you know, exceptionalism.
So I want to compare The Magicians to Buffy a little.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the ending of that is very similar in the way that it is. We have done the thing. We have done the big thing, and it is over and we won. But there is so much more coming. And Buffy's a little different because it did live on in comic books and stuff. So there is a continuation, but.
Well, I would argue that we will see a continuation of this.
I would appreciate that. And not to get too nerdy on Maine, but the ending of this is so ripe for fan fiction. You can go literally anywhere. If this is your favorite show and you are sad that it is over and you want to make it what you want it to be, fucking do it, man. There is a whole community.
And with what little I know about them, I can't think of two creators who would be more approving.
Oh, for sure. No, they love it.
And there's sort of a baton passing where it almost, especially when you consider the ending of season 4, it does sort of feel like a nod.
Yeah.
We've debated in these last couple episodes how much they did know they were ending. Yeah. And I absolutely believe that they could write a season 6 and that it could potentially even be great.
Yeah.
But there's something about the specific moment that it ends that it's like, from where I am right now, I don't want more.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I mean, it is for me, though, the same as Buffy, where if all those actors got together, I don't care that James Marsters is in his 50s. If all those actors got back together and just like started doing more Buffy, I'd be so into it. And so it's like, on the one hand, I totally agree with you because it ended in such a perfectly finished, but also open-ended place that I can't imagine, you know, making the potential to ruin that. But at the same time, these people, you know, they feel like my friends and I could hang out with them forever.
Because at this point, I'm going to go ahead and compare it to another thing. It was a lesson I learned from the finale of Ugly Betty, where they were like, because it was a similar thing where they were they were canceled, like well into the final season. They had like 5 episodes where they knew they were writing the end.
Okay.
And their takeaway, their secret was give everybody 90% of closure.
Sure.
And that just really resonated with me. So it's like, from where we end, everybody is happy and there is a sense of closure, but it's not like it's finished.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's when everything is finished that can weirdly leave you unfulfilled.
Completely.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because to bring it back to like when I was talking about Friends earlier, that show ends and like if somebody told me, which I'm sure there is, but if somebody was like, oh my God, no, I wrote like a 250,000 word fan fiction about after the end of Friends, I would be like, for what? Everybody got a totally happy ending. What is the point?
To
like,
what
I don't
end?
understand. Yeah, to what end exactly? And so that's the kind of thing where like you could literally take the end of Magicians any way you want to go after that. And I think that's what makes it so wonderful.
The whole episode was so knowing in like a comforting way, not in like it knows, like not in a smug way.
Yeah.
And we were chronicling, I did say we left Julia at the hospital and they did something with all of that. I'm still not entirely sure I understood the fog stuff. They got him out of that euphoric realm or whatever.
So when Katie sent evil fog there, they expelled our fog.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but because he was there, I guess for so long, he went totally bananas.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way to make him not bananas was to do this weird spell on a cat so that all his insanity went into the cat as long as he was touching the cat.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds insane, but it like...
They acknowledge it's terrible, but what we see is not terrible. This is a show that has a history of killing cats.
Animals, yeah. And the cat doesn't look like it's having any trouble, but Professor Lipson was like, that cat's having a real bad day. And I just was like, oh God.
And you're right, it was like the biggest cat I've ever seen in my life.
Huge. That had to be like a 30-pound cat. Like a small child, for sure.
Did you, completely side note, did you ever end up reading Seth Rogen's feed about cats when he was watching it?
I only saw a couple in passing, but I was enjoying what I saw. I just didn't read the whole thing.
Also completely thrown by the scale.
Yeah,
and it was like a 2 1/4 scale or something. And he literally goes, that would mean these cats are 60 pounds.
Yeah, it's insane. It's so insane.
Anyways, Magicians. So what did that mean for Fog? Or I guess we don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I think it's something that I think it will gradually work itself out. But where we left him is he's still having to hold the cat whenever he wants to have a sane conversation.
Okay. Round of applause for Keegan Connor Tracy.
Yeah, she's been like a friggin' MVP this season.
Yeah, we weren't recording, so she wasn't hearing this. This negativity wasn't going out into the universe, but we gave her a very hard time for her run on Once Upon a Time. And it wasn't her fault.
Not her fault. Yeah,
it wasn't her fault, but...
There's nothing wrong with her as an actress.
This was a palate cleanser, if ever there were one.
For sure.
So back to the Julia stuff, only to divert into another topic. This show did something... I'm sure other things have done it before, but it felt very novel to me while it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it has a name or we haven't named it, but there's like a magical conundrum where it's like your character suddenly realizes they're in the middle of some sort of magical thing, and we get annoyed when it takes them too long to catch on.
Sure.
One of the examples I use is the Adjustment Bureau, where it's like Emily Blunt is thrust into the like peak of the magic and she has to come to terms with it very quickly. And they did an interesting thing in this episode where we were the ones that had to come to term with it quickly.
Yeah. Are you talking about the Plum thing?
Penny and Plum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because Penny was like, we have to use your time magic to go back and, consult Jane and change something. And he keeps saying it. And finally Plum's like, we already did. This is the do-over. And the audience was in Penny's shoes, where it's like we had to understand and make our peace. So we were given scenes like flashbacks at that point.
Yeah.
And it was really very interesting. They found a way to bring Esme Bianco back in.
Which is so good because she's, one of the first characters, like the
first character.
Fourth, in the very first episode that we meet. And then to have her in the finale was lovely.
On that note, they also brought Charles Measure back.
Also amazing.
Yeah. I was a little mad at you because I was intentionally not reading the names.
Sorry. I wondered if you were. I'm sorry. I feel bad because I was like, oh, hey, Charles Measure. And then I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, that's why I was staring at looking down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was interesting. nitpicking, if I'm being picky, the Sebastian stuff, the Dark King stuff did feel a little rushed.
Yeah, it's none of it really landed for me in like almost the whole time, despite, loving that Sean Maguire was around and like kind of getting it and everything. It does feel like whatever happened at the end was kind of rushed. And that also, like, I feel like we would have had more of him later.
Absolutely. Because he felt like a great and perfect season 5 villain and like story, but he didn't feel like a perfect finale story. And so with the exception of tying Jane and Martin. So in that regard, yes, it did tie in nicely, but it did feel rushed. It felt like that story needed an additional episode to fully land. And you're right. I do feel like it is one of the stories that will continue going in the future because the nod that he went to Jane's cottage, I thought was brilliant because we didn't, considering he was the Dark King and did a lot of bad shit, we didn't want him punished to that extent.
No, I didn't want him to like stop existing, and so the fact that he was able to and also be with his sister again, presumably they liked each other growing up because they were both normal.
Well, and they're in an ambiguous time cottage. They could find a way to save Martin yet.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what I mean? So it was staggering. The other thing that I'm the most upset and frustrated by with this being the end, with it ending this abruptly, is because it took until, and I was going to say it took until now, and by that I don't mean this exact moment, but it took until these last couple episodes for the show to fully adjust to no longer having Jason Ralph.
Sure.
And so I feel like we finally got to it finally became the new show.
Yeah, it finally, like we had a couple moments in these last 2 episodes, specifically with Alice, where she was like, yeah, it sucks that he's gone. But it felt like more like closure. The show had finally recalibrated, where it's like there was a point in the middle where if someone said, what about Quentin? I would have been like, who's Quentin? You know what I mean? Like, in not in a bad way, like in a good way. And so I am a little bit frustrated that it's like we did all this work to get to this place only to have it end. I do stand by I wish we could have seen him on our screen one more time. Me too.
They did make a point to say about Lance that he had already moved on.
Yeah.
And I like that notion in general that there is a beyond the beyond. And it's something that The Good Place really explored with its final season.
Well, yeah, and to bring it back around to Narnia, there's a reason why The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is my favorite of the books, and because there is a beyond in that as well. And the way that the third Magician's book ends is very like The Voyage of the Dawn Treader in that way, and so this ended in a similar enough way to the book, but it was also like as different as you can be while still being kind of the same. But it was, I appreciate that as well. And
just as a side note, the way that the show has engineered itself with all the different timelines and stuff, it's almost like the book is a different timeline. Or this is a different timeline. You know what I mean?
Could be. Absolutely. And I like especially the notion, like you said, there is an implication that, Quentin could potentially have moved on, like Lance did.
To compare it to Buffy again, like Tara. Sometimes when people are truly properly gone, they're gone,
Yeah, and also, it's about your personality, and it's about like what, would Quentin hang on that hard after everything that he had been through? Probably not. He might, be ready for a rest. And the thing that I liked so much is that we do also get to see Elliot moving on at the end. It was weird for me at first. I was like, are we really doing this? But I ended up being like, yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah, it was weird, and I was also so for it because on top of that, it's kind of, he's weirdly in like a throuple.
Kind of. Well, except for Hyman's not still in a physical body.
Well, no, but Hyman is in the bedroom with them, and Hyman's body is as well, even if Elliot's wearing a bracelet that shows him Charlton.
Well, I think Charlton is wearing the bracelet.
Regardless.
I get what you mean.
It was weird in like a kooky, cool, interesting way. And the Charlton thing, I was wondering why the show was insisting he was a character this whole season.
Yeah.
It was never a problem, but it was just odd. And for a minute, I was like, isn't he supposed to be a child? But then I was like, well, he's also a god and he's also like millennia old. So who knows? I mean, he's in a man's body.
Yeah.
But he was like the boy that the monster was in, right?
I thought so, but I don't know. They haven't really focused on that in any way, so I can't.
If we both thought it has to be true.
Yeah,
but
well, that's not accurate.
By that logic. That's timeline 42. And just Elliot, he was almost kind of exasperated, but also intrigued. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Who knows? And it's better off not knowing, and just the way that, like, because it was so cute and weird.
Well, and I think the thing that I liked best about it is that when Charlton specifically says, would you ever be romantically inclined towards a man like me? And Elliot is like, what do you mean? And he's like, starts listing off stuff, and then he's like, emotionally available and ready right in front of you. And I was like, oh, that's what Quentin was at the end there. And Elliot like turned him away. And so I love that growth for Elliot too, where he's like, I can't keep running from this.
But first he just starts going upstairs, and Charlton's like, what are we doing? And he's like, we're going to take him for a test run.
Yeah, we're going to see what we can do with this. And I just was like, amazing.
And so it like weirdly, it was one of those things where it like made my heart flutter in this way that I don't get often, where I was like, oh, I never even thought about that. Like maybe. Because I had also kind of predicted that I thought maybe they were setting up Hyman for Finn because they had like a meet cute.
Yeah.
But man, sorry, it's still washing. You always know. You were like, I think we're going to talk for a while. And I was like, I don't know, maybe not. And
yeah, what are you, stupid? This is the series finale of one of our favorite shows of all time. We're going to talk for a minute.
Because it's still washing over me. Because in a lot of ways, it did. I say this so frequently, and I mean it two ways. I mean it good and bad. It depends. But this was a very have your cake and eat it too finale, where it was like, it was happy and sad at the same time, you know, come through Casey Musgraves.
Yeah, totally.
Because Elliot is kind of alone. You know what I mean?
It's Margot, Josh, Alice, and Fenn.
It's just the four of them.
Are on the new Fillory.
Penny and Julia, who did pull through with some crazy help from Crazy Dean Fogg. Sure, I'll allow it.
It's fine. It's not hurting anyone.
That was okay. The less we say there, the better. But they're all kind of fractured, though. Like, and so there was just something sad and melancholy about wondering where their friends went. To go back to the Fleabag thing, it was less abrupt, where she dismisses us. This sort of felt like we were sort of like lifting off. Like we were kind of slowly pulling back from this world and this story. And we know they're going to re-find each other. Like,
of course.
In this world or the next. And the best thing this season did was shaking up the dynamics and reshuffling the cards. And I just would have never been like, this is going to end with Alice, Margot, Finn, and Josh.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't have picked them as the quote unquote final four. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like...
same. And you know that can be said for everybody, because, you know, just a couple weeks ago, Penny was having a really hard time not wanting to keep going on quests with Julia, and now that's their life. As they're with their baby, they're going on quests to try to find where the new Fillory went. And Elliot is a professor at Brakebills now. I mean, it's like, none of that is where I would have ever imagined from the first episode of this show. And yet it also all feels so perfect.
Maybe this will be one of those shows that weirdly gets like, and I don't mean reboot, but we come back to it several years later.
I was thinking about that literal exact thing where I was like, I could see them just randomly getting together for like a reunion. Like a reunion 90-minute special. Yeah, 100%.
I really wonder if, because I mean, as you mentioned a couple weeks ago, this is the Wild fucking West. Like, stranger things not only have happened, but are the number one show. Like,
I will also say, especially literally right now, when so much of Hollywood and everything is up in the air because everything is shut down. I think we are looking at a new world order when all is said and done, to be quite frank.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being so serious. I think we're looking at a whole new arrangement of everything, to be honest. So that's the kind of thing where I think, you know, in the way that the industry was moving forward anyway, I feel like there's so much more room to do like every 5 years check in for like a 90-minute movie with these people. You know what I mean? Like what's to stop us?
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think that, but I'm just saying I don't think this is the last that we will see of these people, of these characters of this world. And I mean, just wow. We covered most of it. There's still a few more things I wanted to touch on. Did you want to talk about crying? What were the moments that
Well,
I know the specific moment I started crying.
So I cried. I was very misty for most of the episode just because I knew it was the end. I absolutely cried when Martin killed Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
She is the only actual person who died.
That gutted me.
Yeah.
And
it's not cool.
It was so beautiful too.
It was great.
Like even the aesthetics and the way she died.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we love Zelda, but I just was like, it was one of those moments where it's like you realize a hair too late, it's a suicide mission. And you're just like, oh. And she was just so elegant and so strong and so graceful.
Yeah, and she did her job. She did the thing. Like she did what she was supposed to. As presumably the last librarian alive. She closed up all the fountains. She did the thing that she needed to do, and I think there's such a grace in that in situations like this.
Absolutely. And there was something about the character and Magina's performance and portrayal of her in these last two seasons, because do you remember last season when the episode where they did kill Quentin, the picture that I chose, and it was my cover photo on Twitter for like months, was the shot of her sitting at the park bench looking out over the lake. Yeah. That just encapsulated my feel. It's just how I feel, you know?
It's just how I feel.
It was so noble. And I also love, because it's like Magina Tova is a unique looking person. And it's like, I know her, I'm familiar with her career. She was the like awkward girl in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And she was the anorexic girl in the Christina Aguilera music video, Beautiful. Yeah. And so she played a lot of strange roles. And it was so interesting and nice to see her so glamorous. And the show in the last two episodes just acknowledged that she's a babe. Like,
oh, yeah. I mean, she's so beautiful.
Because that's what Martin said to her.
Yeah, the 40s aesthetic with the cat eye glasses it's like so for her face and body and everything. And the way that he killed her was he like spun her around like they were waltzing for a second and then like just touched her face and she like turned to stone or whatever.
Like it looked like she was like, she like poisoned.
Like fossilizing almost. Yeah. It was bananas. So good. I mean, I can't say enough about it.
Yeah.
I only then really cried at the very end.
Well, no, I cried a second time. I don't remember.
When we thought Margot was gonna go.
Maybe that was it. Shit, that's gonna bug me because I did.
You can watch it again.
Well, it might take me a minute.
Yeah, I don't have it in me right now.
I have watched the finale of 4 now. I have watched it a couple times again, but you still haven't, though, have you?
I did not watch it more than once. No.
You've still only seen it the one time. Oh, it's so good.
No, I know. It just at this point, I kind of want to start over from the beginning at some point.
That would be interesting.
When I'm gonna have time. Yeah.
This show has changed the meaning of Aha's take on me. Like it means something different to me now.
Yeah.
And it's specifically the line, "No better to be safe than sorry."
Ugh, I know.
There was a second time I don't quite remember, and we knew when the four of them, when Alice and Josh and Fen and Margot disappeared, we knew where they were, as the audience. But the fact that it not only met, but surpassed my expectations. Yeah. And then getting there just a moment before the episode actually ends that we're not going to see the new Fillory, the new reality. It cut to black and I was overcome.
Honestly, you crying made me start crying at that point.
Really? You were laughing and it made me feel silly, but it like...
No. I was just... That's my trigger response.
It's a defense.
It's a little bit of a defense mechanism, but it was immediate. It was like the production card wasn't even up yet, and you were just like
sobbing.
You were done.
Yes, it is the show. Absolutely. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but it is tied to a very specific point in my life and very tumultuous times at this point in my life. And there was just such a yin and yang to the end that I was so completely overwhelmed. And on top of that, it finished at 7/19, which...
Oh, that's your birthday.
It's my birthday, but it's also my two favorite numbers and my two lucky numbers, 7 and 19. And I have been increasingly noticing it. I don't know why, but I keep looking at the clock at 7:19. And it's kind of been weirding me out. And when this ended, as the clock turned 7:19, I just was, like I said, I was overcome.
Yeah. I don't know when we're going to have another show like this.
Yeah.
I think that's the part that I'm saddest about, because this was just such a show for both of us. It was just so exactly what we wanted and needed for the last 5 years. And you know, it introduced us to a lot of new actors.
And I'm just like, I'm not alone and I'm not crazy.
Yeah, no, of course
Do you know
not.
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's been, as someone who really resonated with Quentin, because you're Julia.
yeah. I like to have a little bit of Margot thrown in there.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to have a hard time imagining it another way now, though I do want more and wish we had more. They did outdo themselves.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think I am as happy as I could have been with a finale that they had very little prep for.
And again, in hindsight, the fact that they had very little prep for it feels fitting for the show in a way that I never anticipated going into it.
Yeah, also, I have a suspicion that even if they did have prep, even let's say we got a season 6, I have a feeling the ending would have been very emotionally similar to what we got.
Do you remember when the first series of Penny Dreadful ended abruptly in a way that people interpreted as cancellation? And then John Logan was like, no, that's actually it.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't be surprised to hear that this whole cancellation thing, not that I think it's a stunt. I don't think it's a stunt, but
maybe
I think this is how they would have ended it.
I think I think the emotional beats would have been exact.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. Sarah Gamble and John McNamara are not the creators who are going to give you a 100% wrapped up in a tidy bow ending. Like never. So it would have felt, I think we would have felt the same at the end, no matter what.
Yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? Of course, we're going to think of a million things when we're done, but.
Yeah. I mean, not anything specifically. I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. I did love all of the stuff in Fillory, in the new Fillory at the end, where there was like a pizza tree and a bacon field and stuff. And so it just like took everything.
It was a knife tree. And it was naturally occurring pizza ovens.
That's what it was. And then the bacon field. And I just loved
and
that
the bacon field was for Alice. I had forgotten.
That's the thing. Yeah, I love that it took things that all of them wanted, because we were given to understand that the World Seed was only going to be listening to like the one person, but it kind of went in all of their minds and got the things they wanted. And I liked that a lot. Yeah. So yeah. Magicians is over. Hit us up on Twitter if you want to talk about it. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for us. You can hit us up on Twitter if you're in your feels at So I'm Watching. We will talk to you about it. Just my personal Willow, WILLO 719. Yeah, Will definitely talk to you. He's gonna point. Once he's recovered from this. I wonder if Jacob watched it. I don't know. He never ended up talking about the finale of 4. All right. Well, thanks for coming along on this journey with us, and we will catch you on the next show that's similar to this. Fingers crossed to come soon. We're talking away. I don't know what I'm just saying, I'll say it anyway. Today's another day to find you shying away.
I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take on me.
Take on me.
Take me on.
Take on me.